All right, so can you guys see my screen now?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
All right, so this is where we've stopped last meeting, slide 52 or 53. So I guess I was able to finish this one. Did we able to finish this example number 18? Where did we stop last meeting? Slide 52 or 53? Can anyone recall who's here last meeting?
52 ata, sir.
It's fine. All right, so let's have this example. So this example is shunt or parallel positive clipper with negative bias. So as you can see, this one is clipping the positive side, okay? And then this one has a negative bias of voltage, which is this VB. And then our diode is non-ideal, which is of course now a silicon diode. And then if you're going to take a look on this one, so our voltage source is connected to the positive side of our diodes. So positive to positive, negative to negative, which will make this diode a forward bias. So again, if it's a forward bias, okay, the only thing that we're getting is the voltage drop of this parallel connection. So the voltage drop of the silicon is 0.7, and then the voltage of this bias voltage itself is -2. Okay, so if you're going to take a look on this one, so just base it on the polarity. Okay, so negative here and then positive here. Okay, so negative to positive. So 0.7 minus 2 is equal to 1.3 volts. Okay, so again, to get the voltage output, you just need to consider the voltage drop or the voltage of the bias voltage cell. So VB minus VB. Okay, so 0.7 or positive 0.7 minus 2. So that's how you get the voltage output of negative 1.3. Okay, and then the next one, okay, for the negative half cycle. So this is the opposite now. So as you can see, a negative now is connected to the positive side of this diode, and then positive is connected to the negative. So this one will become reverse bias. So if this is reverse bias, then of course this one will become an open circuit. Then our V sub I now will be able to pass through to our V sub O. Okay, so it won't be affected by our voltage bias since negative is connected to negative. Yes, this one will become forward bias, but our V sub I has a greater voltage of when it comes to comparing it to VB. So our V sub I will completely dominate, okay, this path. Okay, so forever this diode will be reverse bias because this one will dominate the voltage of our bias voltage. So as a result, our V sub O will be negative 5 volts. Okay. So open circuit and then completely V sub I is equal to V sub O. That's why we've got negative 5 volts. And then here's the graph, okay, of our example. So as you can see, we have negative 1.3. Okay, so we've started from negative 1.3 here in positive cycle and then ended with negative 5 volts. So from here to here is completely zero. Okay, so the only time we have a voltage or a current is from negative 1.3 to negative 5 volts. Okay, so did you guys get this one so far? Or are there any confusion or clarification? Any question, guys? Question? None? Mr. Eda? Mr. Clyde? Mr. Raster? Mr.
None, sir.
Gulaidan? You guys have a clarification? So we can wait.
None, sir.
I can wait for you guys to analyze this one. I can give you 5 minutes. Okay. So if you're having confusion on this side, so anywhere. So actually, so as I said last meeting, okay, the title itself doesn't matter. Okay, you don't need to know what kind of uh circuit or what kind of cleaver of this one. Okay, as long as you know how does a diode work, on when they will can lack a current, on when they will become reverse bias, on when they will become a forward bias. Okay, so you just simply analyze the circuit and then you will know on when will be our V sub O will have the voltage of V sub I, when will be our V sub O will have the voltage drop of this parallel path. Okay, so just simply analyze the circuit. Okay, so I really advise you guys to search for more examples other than what we have here in PowerPoint right now. Okay, so don't just depend on my examples. Okay, so you can search on YouTube and Google, search for more examples. Okay. So the next one is shunt or parallel negative clipper. Right. So if we have positive parallel clipper, we also have negative clipper. So I didn't give an example on this one anymore since they are just the same idea with the positive clipper. It's just that you have to flip this one. So instead of having the other way around, so it has to be like this. So positive now is connected to negative and the negative is connected to the positive. So as a result, as you can see, if positive is connected to the negative, this one will become a reverse bias. So if this is a reverse bias, so our V sub I will completely flow to our V sub O. Because this one now is an open circuit. Okay, we don't have a loop in here. So as a result, as you can see, it is only accepting okay, a positive voltage. So take note, we don't have a bias voltage here, so that is why our formula for now is V sub O is equal to V sub I. Okay, and then during the negative half cycle, okay, so negative to negative, positive to positive, so we have a complete loop on this side, so our V sub I will never flow into our V sub O. So that is why uh, if this is ideal diode, so we have 0 volts here. But if this one is not ideal diode, which is, let's say, this one is a germanium, then our voltage output will be negative 0.3 volts. Okay, if this is silicon, this is negative 0.7. And then if there's another voltage here, then you have to consider that one also. Okay, so this is the main concept of the shunt or parallel negative clipper. And then the other one is, of course, the same uh, circuit, a parallel negative clipper, but now with a bias voltage. It's an additional voltage below of the diode. Okay, so during the positive half cycle, the same. The output voltage is V sub O is equal to V sub I. Since, of course, as you can see, uh, this circuit will become completely reverse bias. So as a result, our V sub I will still flow in our V sub O. And then during the negative half cycle, okay, so instead of having 0 volts, okay, so we now need to consider the voltage drop of the diode and then the bias voltage itself. Okay, so again, for positive bias, so we have this formula. Okay, this is the positive bias. And then for the negative bias, we have this formula. Okay, so yeah, so just base it on here or just base it completely on the uh, polarity of your diode and then the bias voltage. So as you can see right here, this one will become VB minus VD. Okay. During the negative half cycle, positive VD, negative VD plus VB, negative VD. So let me just edit this one. So this is the, should be VB minus VD. So I made some adjustment or correction because the sign of bias voltage is positive and then the sign of our diode is negative. So VB minus VD. And then for the negative, we have here negative and then negative. So negative, negative. So negative VD, oh, VD plus VB plus minus VB. There you go. So negative VD minus VB. So as a result, two negatives. Okay. So don't get confused with this one. Okay. So this one is super flexible. This one is only depending, okay, on the polarity of your diode and then the bias voltage. So for the negative bias, so we have a negative and the negative. And then for the other one, for the positive, is a negative and then positive. Okay. So don't get fixated on this formula. So you might get an incorrect answer if there's another component that is in here. Okay. So that's it for the uh, parallel negative clipper with bias. Okay. So here are their graphs, okay, for the positive, oops, for the positive and then for the negative. Okay. So both of them is clipping the negative. All right. So let's have an example. So this one is an example of shunt or parallel negative cleaver with negative bias, which is an ideal. So I made it very short wherein supposedly this one should be an ideal diode, and then we have another example for this one which is the same given number, but now we've considered the diode as an unideal. But in here, I've only put one example, which is, a negative bias already. We don't have a positive bias, and then a non-ideal. Okay. So it is now up to you to uh, analyze if we have here a positive bias and then ideal diode. Anyway, this one is much more harder than those uh, two. So just by having this one example, so you will already know what is the difference between positive bias and then, and an ideal diode. So let's have a look on this one. So we have here initially a positive half cycle. So positive is connected to the negative side of the diode, and the negative is connected to the positive side of the diode. So as a result, this diode will become reverse bias. So if this is a reverse bias or an open circuit, so our V sub I now will completely flow in our V sub O. So as a result, so 5 volts is equal to V sub O. Okay, so simple as that, right? And then for the negative half cycle, so negative now is connected to the negative side of the diode, and then positive is connected to the positive side of the diode. So as a result, we have a complete loop on this path. So from here to here, so going back to the ground. So as you can see, our V sub I will never pass through V sub O. So again, you're going to get now the voltage drop of the diode and then the voltage bias or the bias voltage. So from here, we have negative 2 and then negative 0.7. So again, for you to be able to get the correct polarity or get the correct sign, so just base it on the polarity of your diode and then bias voltage. So we have here negative and then negative. So negative 2 and then negative 0.7. So just add those two, then you'll get negative 2.7 volts. Okay, so that's how we've got uh, this answer. And then here's the graph. So from the positive side, we have 5 volts and then up to negative 2.7 volts. So as you can see, it clips the negative or a little portion of the negative half cycle. Okay, so yeah. So that's it for the shunt or parallel negative clipper with negative bias. Do you guys have a question so far or clarification? You guys sure? It's okay to become honest. That if you didn't understand, you can say Yes, sir, I didn't understand. Could you please repeat completely from the slide 1 to slide 66? I'm just kidding. Of course, you must have told me, okay? That is why you should ask me right away if there's a part that you didn't understand. Because if you didn't understand the earlier slide, okay, you will, you know, you will lose your interest in listening because you didn't understand that slide and you keep on thinking that on how to solve on or on how did we get the answer on that particular slide. Okay, so I really highly recommend for you to become more honest. Don't just say an answer if you didn't really understand. Well, I'm glad if you really understand, and then if you don't have a question, then so be it. But I am much more happier if you have, if you're being, they call this one, honest. To say really completely honest. Well, I'm not sure if you guys are lying, but anyway. So you guys sure? No question or clarification? We're almost up to the last topic. Actually, this is the last topic already, the Clipper dual combination. So I'm hoping that, you really guys understand the five uh, types of Clippers. Okay. But anyway, so no question. Right, so it seems that there's really no question. But anyway, so if you have a clarification or question, so feel free to ask me anytime, okay? So the last topic is the Clipper dual combination or Clipper dual diode Clipper, or we call this one combination. So as you can see, very obvious, okay? It has the ability to clip both sides, okay? The positive half cycle and then the negative half cycle. So this type of clipper combines a parallel negative clipper with negative bias D2 and B2, okay? And a parallel positive bias D1 and B1. Hence, the combination of a bias positive clipper and a bias negative clipper is called combination or dual diode clipper. So such a clipper can clip at both two independent levels depending upon the bias voltage. Figure below shows the circuit of dual combination clipper. Right? So in here, one advice is if you're going to take a look on this one, no matter how high is your voltage source, okay, it won't affect your voltage output. What will affect or what will decide the peak or the voltage of our voltage output is the bias voltage and then the diode. So okay, so you will see later on because this one is completely, you know, completely useless. No matter what is the value of this one, as long as anyway, of course, this one has to be higher than the B sub one, B sub one, and D sub two and B sub two. Because if this one is not higher than the voltages of those, then it won't be able to pass through this one. Because of course, as you may know, this one needs zero point 0.7 if it's silicon or zero point 0.3 if it's germanium. And then of course you have to deduct it with this one also. Okay, you have to consider to be bias voltage. So again, this one has to be higher with the summation of those two or with the summation of those two. Okay. So we have two results in every half cycle. So the first one for positive half cycle. So when V sub I is less than okay, VDI plus VB1, okay, diodes D1 and D2 are reverse bias. Okay, so as you can see right here, let's say we have less than V sub I of VB1 and VB sub 1. So as a result, okay, oops, V sub O is equal to V sub in volts. Ah, I see. It will affect. Okay. However, if this one is okay, let me take a look on this one. V sub I is let's say positive. Positive will be true. So it's completely reverse bias so often. Mm. All right. So my bad. So there are some cases that this one is lesser than the diode that it will pass through itself. So let's say you have here a 0.7 and then a 2 volts. So we have a total of 2.7 volts. So if this one is 2.6 and below, say 2.5 volts, okay, it won't be able to pass through this one. So as a result, this one will become reverse bias. And then as you can see, positive to negative, this one will also become reverse bias. So as a result, our V sub I will pass through our V sub O. Okay. So there are some cases wherein V sub I is lesser than those. Okay. Wherein, of course, if they are lesser than those, then it will pass through our V sub O. So whatever is the value of our V sub I will be equal to V sub O, which is this one. However, the most common case, okay, most common cases is V sub I is always, okay, greater than those D sub 1 and then VB1 and then D sub 2 and then VB2. So if this one is greater than the summation of those two, okay, then diode D1 will be forward bias and D2 will be reverse bias. Okay. Positive is connected to positive and then positive is connected to negative. So this one is forward and then the other one is negative if our V sub I is greater than the summation of those two. So if we have that kind of situation, then as you can see, we have a complete loop on this side. So from here to here to here to here. So it will never pass through our V sub O. So again, if it's the case, then the only thing that we need to consider is the voltage drop of the diode and then the bias voltage itself. So as you can see, we have positive and then positive. So VB1 plus VB1. Okay, so that's how we've got the formula VD1 plus VB1 of V sub O. All right. So again, if you guys have a question, so feel free to ask me anytime. And then for negative half cycle, so just make this one negative and then positive. Okay. So when V sub I is less than uh, D2 plus VB2, okay. So again, negative is connected to the positive, and then negative is yes connected to negative, but it's not enough since V sub I is less than the summation of this one. Okay. So we're having this kind of scenario. Oops. Let me highlight this one. There you go. Okay. So if that's the case, then both of those diodes will become reverse bias. Okay, completely open. So as a result, our V sub I will flow in our V sub O. Okay, so whatever is the voltage input will be equal to the voltage output. So that is why we have this formula. And then for the second situation wherein V sub I is greater than, V sub I is greater than VB2 plus VB2. Okay, so now it has enough voltage to pass through this summation. So as a result, we have a complete loop on this side. So from here to here to here to here. So if you have that kind of scenario, again, all you need to consider is the voltage drop of your diode and then the bias voltage itself. So we have here a negative 0.7, every this one is silicon, and then negative 2, let's say this one is at 2 volts. So yeah, so negative 2.7 volts. Okay. Or minus VD2 minus VD2. Okay. So without a further delay, let's have an example. So example number 20, Clipper dual, and then non-ideal. Okay. So let's say let's start in positive half cycle. So as you can see right here, uh, 4.7. So this one is 2.7. This one is 4.7. So this one, V sub I, is always greater than those two diodes, okay? Or than those two summation of this one and then this one. All right, so if that's the case, then we'll be having a closed loop on either of those two. So let's see. So positive is connected to the positive, and then negative is connected to the negative. So we have a complete closed loop here. So if that's the case, oops, let's take a look on the second one first. So positive is connected to the negative, and the negative is connected to the positive. So we have a complete open circuit in here. So we only have a flow of circuit on this side. Okay, so if we have that kind of scenario, then all we have to consider is the voltage drop of the silicon and then the bias voltage itself. So as you can see, we have positive and then positive. So that is why we have this one, positive 2 plus 0.7, which is 2.7 volts, right? And then for the negative, so as you can see right here, if it's negative, then this one will become completely reverse bias, or this one now is an open circuit, and the negative is connected to the negative. Positive is connected to the negative. So as you can see, we have a complete closed loop on this path. So from here to here to here to here. Okay, so as a result, again, all we need to consider is the voltage drop of the diode and then the bias voltage itself. So just base the polarity, okay, to get the correct signage. So we have negative 0.7 since it's on silicon, and then negative 4. So as a result, we have negative 4 plus negative 0.7, or negative 4.7 volts in our visible. All right, so this one is basically the same idea with the positive clipper bias or the negative clipper bias. It's just that it can accept or it can clip both sides, the positive and then the negative side. All right, and then here's their graph. So we have here, oops, where is that one? 0.7, yeah, we have here 2.7 volts and then negative 4.7 volts. Okay. All right, so question so far? Question, guys, or clarification? All right. Okay, if there is no question, then that's a good uh, it's a good news for me, of course, since I am assuming that you guys have understood what I'm trying to discuss here. Anyway, so after those examples, of course, we're going to have a quiz. Okay, so quiz on clippers. We have number one here. So as you can see, we have a voltage input of 15 volts, and then going down to negative 5 volts. Okay, and then just find the voltage output during the positive and then voltage output during the negative half cycle. Okay, so as you can see, we have a number one here, but this one in canvas, you have a total of two numbers. Okay, I've separated those two. So the other one is for the positive half cycle, and then the other one is for the negative half cycle. So all you need to do is put your final answer on those both. Okay, so yeah, that's it for the number one, and then this is for the number two. Okay, you have here a shunt clipper. So the same, you have to find the V sub O during the positive and then the V sub O during the negative half cycle. And then the last one is, you'll learn on this one. So this is a dual combination, or a dual clipper. So same idea, you have to find the V sub O during the positive and then V sub O during the negative half cycle. Okay, so we only have three numbers, a total of 6 items in canvas. Okay, because you have to find two missing uh, variables or two missing values on both numbers, okay, or on each numbers rather. So this one is actually like for number one is 20 points. So 10 points for the positive and then another 10 points for the negative. So 20 points, 20 points, 20 points, a total of 60 points. Okay, so I'll be leaving those to you guys to just check the canvas. It is already open. And then here are my reference where I've got some of my presentations or the ideas, okay, or concept of my presentations. So yeah, that's it. So that's for the clippers. So again, I repeat, this is not part of your midterm exam anymore. This is already a topic for your final exam. okay, or for your final term. So the coverage of your midterm exam is from the first module up to the uh, what is the name of that one again? From the rectifier. So you only have three modules to review. So chapter 1 to chapter 3 only, or module 1 to module 3. Okay. So yeah, that's it. Do you guys have a question so far or clarification? Question, guys? You guys sure? Hmm. All right. So if ever that you have a clarification, okay, so feel free to ask me anytime. Okay, you can message me to my Facebook account. All right, so that's it. So the remaining time will be for you to finish your quiz. So that's 3 hours. So you can, you know, have 1 hour on each number. I doubt it. So pwede naman 10 minutes lang on each number. So sobrang dali lang ng mga yan. Kayang-kaya yan. Okay, so if there's no more question, then okay, dismiss na tayo. And then good luck your midterm exam next week. All right, so goodbye. And then have a breakfast already if you haven't ate your breakfast yet. Goodbye. Bye bye. All right, so I'm ending this meeting now. Goodbye, Mr. Senizal.